Welcome to my drive on the Memorial Day weekend 2018. I have a real estate agent right now who is showing my mother's property on an open house weekend. She'd rather that I not be there, so I took a drive to the California Delta looking for RV parks where I could park our motorhome and still be able to visit my two sisters that still live in this area of California, and thinking that there might be a nice place to park next to the California Delta waters. There's about 1,000 miles of waterway here. Nice place to launch our kayaks. This is the first park that I've come to along Highway 12 called Westgate Landing. There's a steep climb to the top of the levee that's holding back the water of the Delta, which would not be an easy launch for the kayaks. Just getting to the top of the levee would be pretty difficult. You can see there are nice views here. I think this would be a nice park to boondock, maybe during the spring or late fall. Otherwise, it's too hot here. But nice sunshine, good for solar power. My next stop was the BMW Resort, just a little bit further down the Highway 12. A nice place for boaters from the Bay Area to bring their boat, park here. There's a restaurant, there's groceries that you can walk to from your boat. Again, I'm not seeing an easy launch here. They do have a boat launch, which probably would cost money to even launch a kayak. That's the general store. The business plan for this park is to have the Bay Area boaters bring their boat here, rent a little bungalow and spend the night or the weekend or a week. Again, a nice place, I think, for spring, fall. Summertime would be, again, a little bit hot here. But of course, if you're out there in the Delta waters in a boat, it might be a little cooler and a little nicer. And there were lots of folks that had skis to tow behind their boats and or rafts to tow behind their boats. Here's the next stop on down the road. I saw an ad for Kokopelli kayaks to rent, so I wanted to see, well, what do they mean by Kokopelli kayaks? This is actually the Lighthouse Marina, and Kokopelli kayaks is located inside the Lighthouse Marina. I'm walking over to take a look at the kayaks, hoping that maybe they could tell me where I could launch my kayaks. But I can see that they keep their kayaks next to the marina docks, and they're not the style of kayak that we're used to. I'm not sure about trying to get very far with this style of kayak. Our kayaks are much nicer to paddle than these would be. I did take a look though at the restaurant that was here, because if there is a place to launch, this might be a good place to stop and maybe grab something to eat. Okay, so here's the next location that I went to. This is Alton. I'm just now entering Alton. And Alton is right on the Sacramento River. It's a town that looks to be pretty rough. I see lots of empty buildings. Not sure what's happening here, because there's not much tourist attraction, and I didn't see many tourists around on this Memorial Day weekend. So I'm not sure what the income would be here for folks that live here in Alton. Just getting over to the main part of the town, and here's what Alton, the main street of Alton, looks like. Lots of empty buildings. I'm not seeing tourists walking the streets here. I suppose if you had a mail order business like the kind that I had for 20 years, this would be an okay place to be, because the business buildings ought to be pretty cheap here, and you could run your business out of here not having to depend upon local traffic. Instead, you know, for mail order, you're shipping nationwide. Again, this would be a town, even though it's on the Sacramento River, it's a town that would be fairly hot in the summer months. We're going to make a left-hand turn here, and that's going to take us up to the levee that's holding back the Sacramento River. This is the levee road, and on the left-hand side, you're going to see the Sacramento River. This comes down from Northern California, and before they built the levees and all the water control that they have here, the Sacramento River was subject to flooding quite a bit. This is the Alton Bridge going across the Sacramento River. I've slowed it down here a little bit so you can kind of get a look at what's happening here. This is a pretty narrow bridge, and when we get to the other side, the folks didn't give me much room. I'm driving a Enterprise rent-a-car here, and you can see I did install a dash cam onto this car. It's become my policy to have a dash cam in my car all the time, and even in the rental car. So there were quite a few boats out on the water during Memorial Day weekend. You can't see many of them here, but as we go drive on up the Sacramento levee here, Sacramento River levee, that you'll see there's quite a few boats. These folks are kind of squeezing me here. So we're going to make a right-hand turn. We're going to drive on up the levee on the west side of the Sacramento River. Now we're entering Walnut Grove. This is the west side of the Walnut Grove area, and we're going to be crossing the bridge again back to the east levee of the Sacramento River across the Walnut Grove Bridge. You can start to see that tower in the distance there? That tower is pretty big. It's probably 1,500 feet up into the air. That's one of the TV towers that's located here in Walnut Grove. And when I'm in Lodi, I point my TV antenna from the motorhome toward Walnut Grove to pick up those towers, and I get 40 channels off those towers. I get ABC, NBC, CBS, and public TV. All the rest of the channels are old movie channels and or Spanish speaking channels. So, but they are digital, so I get good I get a good picture off these towers. So here's a drive through Walnut Grove, the business district of Walnut Grove. I don't see much here, and there are a few more tourists walking the streets here on Sunday of Memorial Day. I'm not sure why, because I don't see much going on, but they are here, maybe viewing the Sacramento River. Driving further up Walnut Grove, better view of one of the TV towers there. Okay, so now I'm going to turn. This is on the left now, after I made that right turn, is the Delta Cross Channel. I think this would be one that a kayak could navigate. Not sure if you noticed, but there was a motorhome parked on the left as I drove in, and that motorhome appears to be boondock. So I'm thinking this might be a place to boondock for free right on the Sacramento River. Again, these levees are have a pretty steep side, so I'm not quite sure how we would get the kayak into the water here either, because it is not an easy launch for a kayak. So the last stop that I made was an area called New Hope Landing. And so this is the marina at New Hope Landing. It's got an RV park, but boy, the RV park was full and it didn't look very attractive. But they are having a Memorial Day party here. There is a live band. And this was my last stop. I did walk over here. You can get a pretty good view of where folks park their boat and then launch their boats. So if they're launching their boats here, in all likelihood, I could launch our kayaks here too.